But Tim, the Facebook, Twitter has permanently suspended Project Veritas Twitter account. The official comment that Twitter gave CNN reporter Brian Fung of CNN Business is they said that we have published people's private information. Twitter did not say that I'm misinformation or fake news. No. They said the reason that we were suspended is because we're doxing people. Project Veritas is publishing people's private information. The evidence of that was us doing a routine TV doorstop. That is to say, television reporters go outside someone's driveway.
CNN does it all the time, like they do the memers.
Didn't CNN do that with that old woman?
Yes.
They accused her.
And that tweet, and you could actually see the numbers on her house. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't. It's completely illogical because.
I mean,
but they're
censoring
that's
you.
The reality. but here's the interesting part, and I have the documents in front of me because I want to get my facts correct. Brian Fung of CNN says that we were repeated violation of the company's quote anti-doxing policies. But then just Sunday, the host's name was Anna Cabrera was on with Brian Stelter, and she said that Project Veritas was removed for misinformation. So CNN's own reporters are contradicting each other. They're just making stuff up.
So what you're saying is you're gonna get a retracto out of this.
Our lawyer has sent a letter to CNN corporate. David Vigilante is the general counsel of CNN, and we are going to get a retracto out of this.
Yes.
Retracto the correction alpaca. He's coming at you.
It sounds like it wasn't so much that you guys got busted for doxing, but that it was who you were doxing. Because wasn't it somebody that was high profile?
So this is a little nuanced, but I think it's important that we take your audience through the facts because I think it's important. Because I think Twitter has crossed a Rubicon here that they have not previously crossed.
I mean, look at the Hunter Biden stuff, man. They suppressed a very relevant news story to help someone win a presidential election.
That is true.
I mean, these people are evil, man.
That is true. So what happened here was I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but when you are flagged, Twitter gave us the option. It said you can simply get your account reinstated at Project Veritas by deleting this tweet.
Yes.
They want us to delete the tweet, the video of my reporter Christian Hartsock with a camera and a flag mic. You could see the flag mic. There's no hidden camera recording here. In a street on a sidewalk outside the house of Facebook vice president.
Was this public property?
What was his name? Guy Rosen.
Was this public property?
This was a public street, a residential street, and his residence. And we're following the lead of CNN. CNN goes and doorstops people, local TV news. So Christian Hartsock asks Guy Rosen for comment on this is maybe the biggest public policy story of our lives. We're not confronting a private citizen. He is a private citizen. He's vice president of Facebook. And then Twitter says you need to take down this video clip off Twitter. But I decided I'm not going to do that, Tim. I would be against my conscience. I'm going to appeal it. I knew it was a risk. And usually when you appeal, it takes a week or two to do. And then in the middle of the day, Twitter got bombarded with phone calls by the New York Times, CNN, and everyone else, and Twitter changed their minds. It said, nope, we've changed our mind. We're now going to ban Project Veritas forever, permanently suspended. For some reason, my personal account was reinstated. It doesn't make any sense because both me and Project Veritas tweet the same stuff.
Pressure. It's just media. This is what the game is for these. I don't want to call them journalists. These are activists. Because I broke a story, I think it was a year and a half ago, where someone who worked at a major bank leaked to me internal documents about. I think we actually. I think we may have talked about this after the fact.
Yeah.
They leaked to me these documents, and it was basically showing that this bank had banned the. Well, I got to be very careful here. It appeared to be that certain right-wing individuals had their accounts closed because an email from a journalist said, "Why are you supporting white supremacy?" or something to that effect. So what they do is a real journalist is going to email someone and say, a story came out and, actually, I got to say this. There's literally no news in finding out that someone has a bank account and then emailing the bank and saying, why does this person have a bank account?
Right.
We know why people have bank accounts. What they do is they contact the bank. The email then says something like, this individual has been accused of being a white supremacist.
Right.
Why do you support white supremacy? The bank gets the message. It's mafioso. They're basically saying, we are going to write a story claiming you support white supremacist organizations. And then the bank says, oh, we don't. We banned those people. And then the activists pretending to be journalists go, okay, great. Getting financial institutions or other companies to destroy their enemies. So it's not too dissimilar. You, James, are one of the, I think Veritas is one of the very few actual news organizations. Look, I think there's a lot of news outlets and there's a lot of good journalists and they work hard and they do well. But you look at how awful things have gotten with these major corporate news outlets. There's no risk to the establishment, to the corporate powers, to the special interests from CNN or the New York Times.
Right.
I mean, very little.
Yeah.
But it's like you were saying, these people are looking over their shoulders, not knowing who is going to hold them accountable by either recording their unethical behaviors and exposing them doing wrong. They don't know who that's going to be. And so they're worried about it. And they're worried about you. Getting rid of you will make their lives very easy.
Well, I think there's a psychological, like I say, right now, as I speak, if there are coders, engineers, wherever they may be, Silicon Valley, when they do their whatever they do that's unethical or at least dishonest, I know they're private companies. They can do whatever they want constitutionally. But there's that little thought inside their head, like the jury on your shoulder, sort of worried, deterred. Maybe someone's observing me do this thing. But what's most interesting about this situation that where Project Veritas was permanently suspended was Twitter changed their mind, Tim, just as you said, once they got bombarded with all that pressure from New York Times and CNN being like, what's the deal? Are they suspended permanently or not? And someone high up at Twitter said, nope, we're going to suspend them forever. And that shows me that the Washington Post and the New York Times and CNN actually have tremendous power. And Jeff Bezos, who is whatever he is, a trillionaire, billionaire, $1 trillion market cap, one of the wealthiest men in the history of the world, is most proud of his ownership of that woke clickbait rag Washington Post. That's his crowning achievement in life. So I actually am not one of those people who say these companies, the CNN has tremendous power to get Twitter to change their mind by making a phone call. Think about it.
Yep.
CNN spreads baseless theories. They eat human brains. They dox people. They even had an article not so long ago that was titled, quote, "How CNN Found the Reddit User Behind the Trump Wrestling GIF."
Yep.
Where they
What's the date on that one?
July 5th, 2017.
Wow.
Where they knowingly went after someone because of that famous GIF that Donald Trump tweeted, and they said, publicly apologize right now or we're going to dox you.
They said promise never to do it again.
Exactly.
Otherwise, we'll release your private information.
And this is the organization that's spearheading the censorship movement that never gets called out for their baseless theories, for their fake news and their lies. Even the New York Times. Yesterday, we were talking about a specific story where the New York Times was caught fabricating the story about the fire extinguisher killing and beating to death this Capitol Police officer.
At the very least, getting burned by their sources and refusing to correct until a month later.
Exactly. And then now today, they also have another article that's titled "Unfettered Conversations Are Taking Place on Clubhouse," talking about how it's dangerous, this new kind of platform that's rising in popularity because they don't know how to deal with harassment, misinformation, and, quote, privacy.
Can I point out the beautiful irony of, was it Ana Cabrera, I think you said? Was that
Ana
her?
Cabrera.
Saying that you were suspended permanently for misinformation, and that statement itself is misinformation.
I mean, I have the two statements.
It's like a fire truck on fire.
By the way, we were going to get our lawyer. We could always just sue CNN. We've sued the New York Times. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I've got two statements from CNN in front of me right now. One is from Brian Fung, CNN Business, who's actually a pretty nice, I think he's a serious reporter. And he says that Veritas was suspended for, quote, threats of sharing other people's private information. I have
Wait, threats?
This is threats of sharing other people's private information without consent.
That's literally what CNN did. Luke just cited that story from them.
And then I have a statement from Ana Cabrera. This is on the air with Brian Stelter on Sunday. Quote, Twitter has suspended the account of Project Veritas. I'm quoting her now, so forgive. It's not my words. Forgive me. Quote, a conservative actionist, activist organization. At least that's how they couch themselves. I have never in my life referred to myself as a conservative activist. Not once. I will swear to it under oath in a defamation lawsuit against CNN unless they retract that. And then she goes on, quote, this is a much broader crackdown by social giants on accounts promoting misinformation. So our general counsel has just sent a letter to David Vigilante today. I have the letter in front of me, signed. A failure to retract will sue. By the way, these organizations are used to throwing the spear at civilian, innocent people. They're not used to the spear being thrown at them. I've sued the New York Times for defamation in the New York Supreme Court, and we're going to get past motion to dismiss in a lawsuit. We talked about this last time. You and I talked about this. We need to sue the shit out of them. And I'm not doing it to harass. I'm doing it because that's justice. If you lie, if you intentionally disregard the truth, that's called actual malice. I'm a public figure. You can't, under the law of New York State, intentionally lie. We'll get past motion to dismiss, and then you get into depositions. That means I put Dean Baquet, executive editor of the New York Times, in a chair, and he's required by the law to answer my questions under oath.
Not only that, but isn't there an opportunity for discovery? Maybe get access to
discovery, depositions, interrogatories. They are required to answer my questions. When I confront Dean Baquet in the street in Los Angeles, that's the executive editor of the New York Times, he just ran away and laughed maniacally. But when the judge says, no, you have to answer Project Veritas's questions, why did you intentionally lie about James O'Keefe? We have so many lawsuits, Tim, that our lawyer, I just think we're going to start suing people. I think it's time, and because you can't defame people and get away with it anymore.
So long as people don't fight back, you can. But now it seems like they picked a fight. They're not,
it's really expensive. The problem with litigation is that each of these lawsuits is $1 million. But we talked about this last time. Remember we said someone should start a nonprofit and just start suing people who lie? Well, that might actually just be project, 1/3 of our budget at this point.
You'll make money on it.
Yeah, the People's Defamation Defense Fund. How
right,
about that?
Exactly.
Perfect.
Just get a big fund and then track when, the issue is there are a lot of people now who are finding themselves in the public sphere who have small careers as personalities, pundits, and journalists. They can't go up against the New York Times. Small individual, maybe there's a journalist who's got 70,000 Twitter followers and they're making, 30 to 50K a year off of being an independent journalist.
Well, Tim, do you think these people, do you think it's psychologically too people want to be liked by the New York Times or want their book reviewed? Is it that psychological effect? They don't want to take on an institution as revered, as beloved. What do you think about that?
Do you ever wonder, I was reading something that was really interesting. They talk about how the old mythological stories of heroism were individuals challenging the system, fighting against the gods. And the superheroes of today are supporting the system and fighting on behalf of the establishment. So I wondered about that. You have people right now that don't want to challenge the machine, no matter how evil or wrong it may be, no matter how much they oppress and harm the working class, the little guy, the individual. They want to be a part of the machine. They want to be the one hazing the other person, not the one getting hazed. So when you look at the unfettered power the New York Times or CNN has to destroy lives, why would anyone choose to be on the other end of that? So they'll side with them.
It's a legitimate, and I think the same psychological effect has on people. I've noticed it since Project Veritas has been banned. I don't want to share Project Veritas because I might be banned. I want people to draw an analogy. That's like saying I don't want to tell the truth because the New York Times might be mean to me. Okay? Let's treat Twitter like the New York Times. Don't draw a distinction between big tech and big media. They are one and the same. In fact, the algorithms prefer CNN, right?
Well, YouTube creates a special section on their front page for
carousel,
the establishment news outlets. You're not going to find, you may get recommended shows like this. You may get recommended my other channels, which is news, commentary, and journalism. But CNN gets special privilege. And what's funny is download vidIQ. I love this plugin. I use it. And it shows you a percentage next to the title of every video of the thumbs up to thumbs down ratio. You'll see the recommended videos are usually overwhelmingly thumbs up. Why? Well, they're being recommended. It'll be videos from maybe me or Steven Crowder or maybe people like Kyle Kalinske, depending on your politics, or Jimmy Dore. But then you'll see this special mainstream media carousel, and it's all 10% thumbs up, 5%, just overwhelmingly rejected by the users of YouTube. But YouTube, desperate for the approval of CNN, the New York Times, ABC, etc., drop to their knees and beg CNN to like them. Beg.
Yeah. I think it's fair to say, as you were mentioning, James, there, that the mainstream media and social media companies definitely share the same activist toolkits, as some people would say. But this is interesting. I think this is the bigger story here, the legal aspect of it, because if you remember, not so long ago, CNN had to settle with the Covington kids.
Yes.
So there is a precedent for this.
Undisclosed
We
amount.
don't know exactly how much, but if that's the case, that we don't know how much, that means it's a good much. It's a lot.
Not necessarily, but I do want to address that. So I see a lot from the left saying this was clearly a nuisance fee. They probably paid the bare minimum just to make them go away. I don't think that's true.
Well, that's ironic.
I don't think that's true, though. I don't. Because I believe the motion to dismiss failed, and they were potentially looking at depositions and discovery.
Right.
That sounds to me like the Covington kids and their lawyer probably said, we don't need a nuisance fee. We can put more pressure on you.
Yeah.
CNN they definitely didn't pay $250 million to settle. But it probably was nice.
It's hard to know. That was the lawyer, and that Lynn Wood was the attorney for
isn't that
Covington.
crazy?
But it's also the Washington Post that settled.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.